If we really appreciate the difference between existing and living, we can even answer the question that no one else can answer. Why do bad things happen to good people? It's a devastating question. For some reason, we have this conviction that good people should have good things happen. Bad people should have bad things happen. It just makes life simple. You're a good person, you get to have a good life. You're a bad person, you get to suffer. If it were only that simple. So we have this question. I know good people, but they have a terrible life. Doesn't make sense. But we now know good people don't have a terrible life. They don't. They have a great life, but they might also have a terrible existence. So the question of why do bad things happen to good people, it's not a good question. What makes good people good? They have a life. They do good to others. They're helpful, they're productive, they make a contribution. That makes them good people. And their life is bad? No, their life is not bad. In fact, they've got a perfect life. The question is, what went wrong with their existence? Because their existence is pretty painful. Now look at how significant this thing is. You have two people suffering exactly the same fate. Bad news. Whether it's health or freedom or oppression, whatever it is, they're both suffering the same pain. One person gets depressed and freaks out. The other person keeps on going. What's the difference? And you can say, well, there's a stronger person, a weaker person. No, they're the same strength. And yet one is optimistic about life and the other one is having a nervous breakdown. The difference is in how they perceive what's going on, what is happening to them. The word bad, think of this for a second. The word bad describes what? Give me one thing that is absolutely bad. Pain? Is pain bad? Not necessarily. I mean, there are people who have this disease where they feel no pain. That's bad. They stick their hand in a fire and they don't feel it. A woman in labor, the most painful thing in the world. It's bad. Most women in their 9th month can't wait for that pain to start already. Is it bad? Is death bad? The guy's 99 years old, passes away peacefully in his bed, surrounded by his family. Bad? So what's bad? An operation. You're going through an operation. Bad? Looks bad. Life-saving. So what's bad? The word bad means it shouldn't have happened. Right? Like, if a 99-year-old guy dies, oh, you know. But if a child dies, oh, that's bad. Why? Hey, that shouldn't happen. So wrongful death, oh, that's bad. Labor pain is not bad. False labor pain, that's bad. Because that shouldn't happen. An operation is not bad unless the doctor is operating on the wrong patient or treating the other leg when he should be treating. No, that's bad. Why? That shouldn't happen. So the word bad actually means something happened and it shouldn't have happened. And then anything can be bad. I bit into the steak and I broke my tooth. It shouldn't happen. Bad. Now the question is, does anything happen that shouldn't? First of all, how would I know? How would I know whether it should or shouldn't happen? I don't know what came before. I don't know what's going to come after. I don't know. So for me to say, oh, that shouldn't have happened, I don't have the information. Some guy broke his leg. Worst day of his life. The day that he went to get the cast removed from his leg was 9/11, and he worked at the World Trade Center. So he missed work that day to have the cast removed. Okay, now let's back up. When he broke his leg, worst day of his life? That should not have happened. 2 months later, saved his life. So how could we say, oh, that shouldn't happen? We don't know. Secondly, if you believe that God created the world, what do you mean it shouldn't happen? If it shouldn't happen, what caused it to happen? The devil? That's voodoo. Everything that happens because it should. If it shouldn't, then it doesn't happen. Because what's going to make it happen? It's not like we have two gods, good God, bad God. So nothing happens unless it has to. So nothing bad ever happens. Now look at the difference. The guy who gets depressed is not from the pain, because the other guy is sharing the same pain. What depresses him is the thought that this should not have happened. And why is that so depressing? If things can happen that shouldn't happen, then I don't understand life at all. Then what else is going to happen? Then nothing makes any sense. And that kills us. Because we're human beings and things have to make sense. When life becomes absurd, we quit. Can't handle it. Not because of how terrible the pain is, but because, well, what else is going to happen? If things can happen for no reason, we don't want any part of it. Knowing that the pain is not a mistake means you're not going to have a nervous breakdown and you're not going to get depressed. So again, do bad things happen to good people? First of all, the bad thing is only in your existence. Your life can never be bad. Secondly, bad is the wrong word. The word is pain. Is the pain bad? Meaning, have you ever suffered a pain that you should not have suffered? The answer is no. Because if you shouldn't have, it wouldn't have. Nothing happens without purpose, without reason. So yes, it's painful. Does that mean it's bad? No. And that's why the sages never asked, why do bad things happen to good people? The sages ask, why do good people suffer? They do suffer. Not from bad, from pain. That's why they don't get depressed. Because they know it's pain, they know it's not bad. This can save our sanity. So, all bad things affect only your existence, not your life. Why? Because it's not bad. It is necessary. The balance between living and existing sometimes the pain in the existence brings out more life in that seesaw. Some of the greatest people in history were orphans, and they rose above it. Some of the greatest people in history were oppressed and persecuted, and they accomplished the most. Some of the greatest people in history were handicapped severely. They accomplished the most. So, knowing the difference between living and existing can protect your sanity. Let me ask a question. Does this sound realistic? Nothing bad is ever going to happen to you. Really? Yeah, really. Nothing bad ever happened, and nothing bad will ever happen. Will painful things happen? Maybe. I mean, the thought that you're sitting here and you shouldn't be here, that's devastating. That's crippling. That'll kill you. So if you think that you're just wasting your life here, then you're wasting your life here. And that's not good. See, there's only one thing that is bad. Right? There's always an exception. You have freedom of choice. Freedom of choice means you can choose to do what you should, and you can choose to do what you shouldn't. So if you choose to do something wrong, that shouldn't have happened. You misused your freedom of choice. Only a human being can do something bad. What does bad mean? It shouldn't have happened. You chose to do the wrong thing, and that shouldn't have happened. You should have chosen the right thing. So the only thing bad is in your perception and in your choice. You can do what you shouldn't have done that. But the facts, whether you're inside or outside, whether you're healthy or unhealthy, whether you're strong or weak, never bad. Could be painful, could be frustrating, could be discouraging. It can't be bad, because when you make a choice, you can be wrong. Whatever God does can't be wrong. It can be painful. So God gives us pain, but never for no reason. Does it make a difference? Pain is pain. What's the difference? There's a reason, there's no reason. Yeah, it makes a difference. Because if you think you're suffering for no reason, it'll kill you. Because human beings can't stand no reason. There's got to be a reason. We're human. Things have to fit, make sense. We may not know what the reason is. That doesn't matter, as long as there's a reason. We don't know why women have to be in pain in order to give birth. But we know that that's the purpose. The purpose is the pain will bring on the pain. But if it were purposeless, meaningless, an accident, a mistake, can't stand that. Can't stand that. We're human. We need things to fit and make sense. So yeah, you're sitting here and it is very painful. And it's very discouraging. And it's ugly. But is it bad? Ugly you can handle. Pain you can handle. Discouragement you can handle. Bad you can't handle. Because if there's no reason, and things can happen for no reason and for no purpose, then what's the point of even trying? That kills you. So, can you figure out why you need to be here? Not why you're here, why you need to be here. No, you can't figure it out. One guy who didn't look like a great scholarly type up in Minnesota was visiting him at the penitentiary. He says, "Do we believe in reincarnation?" Whoa, that's a big word for a guy who never graduated high school. What were you thinking about reincarnation? He says, yeah, because nothing else makes any sense. Because I didn't do anything that deserves this punishment. So it must have been from a previous life. See, desperate people get really smart. The only explanation he can find is, I'm suffering for something I did in a past life, because in this life, I didn't do anything that bad. It's not a good explanation. So we don't have an explanation. But his question is a good question. What did I do to deserve to be here? Even people who are on death row don't understand why they're sitting there. Either kill me or leave me or let me go. What am I sitting here for? That can be very frustrating. I don't know the answer, but there is a reason, and that makes all the difference in the world. Part of the explanation is somebody here needs you, and you are here to provide that service. Look around. Somebody needs you. And it has to happen here. So you're not here just to suffer. Not in God's plan. Maybe the government's plan. But as far as God is concerned, you're where He needs you to be. Because right here, you can do something that nobody else can do. Figure out what that is, and you have a life. We know now that life cannot be painful, but existence can. Existence comes in many flavors, many colors, and many levels. It can be wonderful, pleasurable. It can be distasteful, miserable. But if your existence is miserable, what do you do with that? Okay, I know it's not bad. There's a purpose. There's a reason. I'm not going to have a nervous breakdown, and I'm not going to crack up. But what do I do with this pain? How do I stay positive and optimistic when I'm in so much pain? If it's physical pain, go to a doctor. Do something to get rid of the pain. If it's emotional pain, talk it out, reason it out, get rid of it. There's no benefit and there's no virtue to having pain. There's a story about these two guys in the hospital, and they both have gout. You know what gout is? Very painful. One of the guys was an ascetic. People who practiced tolerating pain. And he was good. The doctor comes in to examine his gout, and he presses on his foot, and the guy is stoic. He can handle the pain. So the doctor presses a little more, and eventually he can't take the pain, and he screams. Then the doctor goes to the next patient, and he examines the leg, the foot, and he presses it, and he turns it, and he squeezes it, and nothing. When the doctor leaves, the first patient says to the second patient, "Where did you train? You're amazing. How did you handle all that pain?" He says, "Handle pain? I gave him the other foot." I'm not into pain. There's no virtue in being able to handle pain. Give him the other foot. What do we do with the pain? The pain that you can't go to a doctor for, that kind of pain. There are two things. First of all, the pain is in your existence, not in your life. So you got to keep two sets of books. Keep an account of your existence, how bad it is, but you also keep an account of your life and how good it is. There's the evil part in you. It's painful. There's the holy part in you. Wonderful. So if you get too focused on how painful your evil side is, you're not being fair. That's not the whole story. I don't know if psychiatrists do this, but they really should. A patient comes in, expresses all his frustrations, all his pain, all his misery. The psychiatrist should say, okay, enough. Now what's the good news? They never do that. What, you have no good news? There's always the good news. Nobody wants to talk about that? This guy was suicidal. And eventually he hanged himself. And the mother was so frustrated and kept saying, what a wasted life. Such a wasted life. So when I was visiting with her, I said, you got to stop this. It was not a wasted life. He was suicidal for about 6 years before he actually killed himself. Which means that for 6 years he fought this thing. 6 years he was successful in refusing to kill himself, which is not easy. And every time he refused, he became holier. Every time he refused to kill himself, he weakened that evil impulse for everybody in the world. Because he said no to the temptation of killing himself, everyone in the world can now say no to that temptation a little easier. Because, we all live in the same bubble. When a person does something good on one side of the world, it helps everybody in the world to do good. When a person does something bad, gives in to a weakness, that weakness becomes stronger in general in the world, and everybody has a harder time saying no to it. So a guy who refuses to kill himself for 6 years despite the temptation, he's a hero. After 6 years, it wore him down. So imagine a guy in the army is defending a position against the enemy, and he defends it successfully for 6 years. And then he runs out of bullets. But that a wasted life? The man's a hero. So, when our existence is really bad, and we don't let it ruin our lives, you have two sides to your presence, the painful side and the heroic side. You get too focused on one side, you're not looking at yourself objectively or correctly. Just like the guy who does one good thing in his own miserable life, he does one good thing and thinks he's perfect. You say, excuse me, but what about the bad things you did? He said, I don't want to talk about it. So what do you mean you don't want to talk about it? You're living in denial. So when a bad person acts as if he were good, we all hate him. But most other people act as if they're completely bad and refuse to talk about the good side. Why is that better? So, how do you handle the negative, painful side of your existence? Just be even. Be balanced. Okay, that's the bad news. Now what's the good news? And why isn't the good news as important as the bad news? I'm going to open an office starting a whole new profession. A counselor to the happy. You come to me, you pay me $200 an hour, and you give me good news. And you tell me how wonderful your life is. That's not worth $200? But if you're miserable and you have a lot to complain about, you'll give a psychiatrist $200 an hour to listen to your wallowing in pain. I think we should have the opposite too. You're in a good mood? Go see somebody so that you can talk to them about it for an hour. Keep the balance, right? Then the second thing is, the pain is not in vain. Even the negative side, even the miserable side of your existence has its purpose. It helps you fulfill the reason for which you exist. So it's not that bad after all. All right, so these are the two things. If you're having pain, the first thing is, that's half the story. Tell the other side of the story. And secondly, even the pain is doing something good for you. It's making you stronger. It's making you appreciate life more. It's making you feel more deeply. You're more sensitive. You're more aware. You're more alert. If you realize that there's a purpose in the pain as well. This actually works. Happy people are not people who are without pain. Happy people could have a lot of pain. But they have these two realizations. It's not all pain. There's pleasure as well. And even the pain is not for no reason. So keep the perspective. Don't get blinded. I've got to give you this. Look at human nature. I take 1,000 pieces of paper. On 999 of them, I write the word yes. On one, I write the word no. I mix all these papers together and I put them in my hat and I pick one out. It's the no. I put it back, mix them all together, pick out one paper. It's the no. 10 times in a row, I come up with the no. All right, now I'm going to do it on the 11th time. I put the paper back, I mix them all together, and I pick one out. What am I expecting? I'm expecting the no. But that's insane. There are 999 yeses. There's only one no. How can I, in my right mind, think that the no is going to come up? Well, it has 10 times in a row. You see what this is doing to my head? I'm not thinking straight anymore. It's one chance in 1,000 that I come up with the no. And yet I'm expecting the no? That's called depressed. That's called negative thinking. Huh? Optimism would mean if I come up with the no 100 times in a row, when I do it 101st time, I'm expecting a yes. Because there are 900 yeses, there's only 100 no's. So see, this is what happens. You're in pain for 10 days in a row. All of a sudden, pain becomes your reality. So we can't let our experience dictate reality. Reality is the way things should be. So if you come up with the no 10 times in a row, that's weird. That's not life. And if you're expecting another no the 11th time, now you're weird. Because that's not true. That's not life. Say, yo, well, 10 times in a row. I don't know. That's weird. I can't explain why 10 times in a row But that doesn't change reality. There are 999 yeses. Expect a yes. That's just normal.